ざっくりさんはお仕事大好きなのかな。
I mean, why wouldn't he? He works for Toy after all. We open this week with Nana working on a piano cover for her song, which I'm pretty sure you can just find on YouTube. In fact, I even know some people. Shameless plug. However, in doing so, she ended up reflecting on the events of the last episode and her interactions with Zakkuri, as the two had left on kind of sour terms. Though she didn't agonize about it too much, as her friends were coming over the next day, and she wanted to share some. Her mother had brought them back from a business trip to France, which I guess inspired our heroines to go on a trip of their own on a middle schooler's budget. Thus, they decided to check out a sunflower field. With that, they got on a bus and made their way there. Yes, just enjoy that candy and let it relax you until you can't put up any resistance. However, even while on a trip with her friends, Nana still couldn't stop thinking about Zakkuri, a fact that she ended up sharing with them.
私にありがとうって言ってくれたの。ありがとう?
You're welcome.
But yeah, they had a typical discussion of wanting their villain to go through a face turn, which honestly I'm all for, as he's at least had decent enough arc, and it is a good time as any to close it out this week. What I wasn't so hot on was the show's kind of poor attempt at character development with Nana, as her friends said that she was being very considerate.
みんなと出会って一歩踏み出す勇気をたくさんもらったから。
Thanks for telling and not really showing. Again, of all of the characters in the show, Nana has really gotten the short end when it comes to focus, at least in terms of spotlight episodes, which mostly amounted to her mysteries episode from near the beginning of the series and these last two episodes. Again, even if you want to argue that she's got the development in the background, it doesn't really relate that much to being considerate. At best, I think she more acted nosy at times than anything. Like, don't get me wrong, I appreciate that Nana is finally getting some proper focus, and hopefully they'll be able to continue this trend going forward. It's just that I do still wish they kind of paced it out a little better. And while we're talking about underdeveloped characters... Oh yeah, because that's always been a thing with her character ever since, So anyway, they arrived at the sunflower field, where they probably broke all sorts of rules by brushing up against the flowers too much, but oh well, I guess this farmer lady didn't really mind. Yeah, they were clearly introducing this lady as the obvious victim of the week, so may as well get this setup out of the way, I guess. It also led to Nana to think more about Zakkuri, who we also checked in on, as he was pretty much acting like the guy who was at the end of his 3-week notice, which with this bitch, it was more than deserved. Yeah, expected to like make brand new stock animations in this episode, that's never gonna happen. But yeah, while he ultimately relented and went right back to work, Zakkuri's main concern was still returning Nana's handkerchief and who invited this Iliaster guy from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds? Well, anyway, back with the Precure, they sat down for some lunch. How many pigs had to die for your lust, Meron? Afterwards, Nana decided to take a little walk to reflect on her stuff with Zakkuri, who she ended up running into in this flower field.
It's just a coincidence.
Yeah, I'll say right now, this episode has one too many coincidences for my liking. Still, at least it gave Zakkuri a chance to finally return the handkerchief, and real smooth there, dude. Of course, Nana didn't mind too much. I mean, she's freaking loaded, and it's just a handkerchief, and she even tried to comfort him by singing her character song. Unfortunately, it didn't work on a guy with a really low self-esteem, which that Iliaster guy took notice of. Damn it! Frickin' finally! Yeah, thanks sweet baby Jesus, as not only does it seem like we're finally about to switch out villains, but they also introduced new ways of summoning monsters. Like, okay, so first of all, according to the credits, this guy's name was Jogi, and he seemed to be a higher tier general than the original villain trio. Like, for one thing, he could use the exact opposite of Kira with the darkness in a person's heart, which again, very Yu-Gi-Oh-esque. Though to be fair, this is nothing new for this franchise when it comes to weaponizing negative thoughts, but for this show, it is a refreshing change-up. Also, it's probably worth mentioning that this guy is played by Yu Hayashi, who's a fairly vetted VA, having played Manjiro in Tokyo Revengers and Takuma Ino from Jujutsu Kaisen, though personally, I know him best as Smokey Brown. Though he also does a lot of Japanese dubs, including Kyle Braflovsky and Disney's Peter Pan, which, yeah, this guy definitely acts like a kid who never got past his 2D phase. Anyway, he turned Zakkuri into a special monster, which was another Mazinger reference.
Like, come on, can't the Getters get some love?
Also, I'm not sure if it was intentional or not, but that farmer lady turned out to be a bit of a red herring. Whatever the case, it was actually a decent subversion, so kudos there. Anyway, the Precure transformed and went into action, and again, while I think the Getters deserve a turn, I will admit Zakkuri pulled off the Mazinger Z references better than Cuddy, probably cause it's in his name. And as a result, we did get some decent fight animation this week, with him beam spamming so much that I think Zetchan is jealous. However, while Zakkuri Kiss managed to hold him off, the real damage of course was dealt by Nana, who proceeded to psychoanalyze the villain. And it led to a pretty decent exchange where Zakkuri revealed how self-conscious he was about hurting other people's feelings through his poor social skills. Thus, you could assume his lazy attitude might have been there to avoid situations like he ended up with Nana. However, after being overworked and forced into the situation, he was just kind of done with everything, which, yeah, I kind of hate how relatable this dude ended up becoming, really. Fortunately, Nana managed to comfort him, and actually managed to solo Zakkuri with her finisher. So yeah, on first glance, this wasn't the best debut for a new general, but to be fair, not only was this a Nana episode, Zakkuri had also been significantly debuffed beforehand, and she did get a buff from her friends cheering her on, which is a thing, so I'll give this a pass, though the next time we see this dude, I'm at least expecting a group finisher for the monster. Anyway, after the battle, Zakkuri finally gave back the slightly dirty handkerchief, which Nana just washed, and then gave her saggy rag right back to him. I mean, yeah, she said it would dry quickly, but I don't think it could dry that fast, especially during Japan's high humidity season, but whatever, it was a parting gift for Zakkuri as he was exiting the show.
Didn't you help turn the last general good?
Yeah, again, I'm not sure what Miron's deal in this episode was supposed to be, other than to have a half-baked conflict that overall was pretty superfluous. Anyway, the episode ended with Zakkuri hanging up his villain boots with some very sharp tsundere lines.
This was another much-needed Nana episode, as well as a much-needed changing of the guard for the antagonist.
While I do still think that overall Nana has been the most mismanaged Cure of this season, I'll still admit that these two episodes did at least effectively highlight her better qualities.
However, the thing I appreciated the most was them finally pressing the refresh button on the baddies.
After the Zakkuri Kiss arc's very abrupt conclusion, the show has felt like it needed to get back on track, and thankfully these past two episodes have at least done some course correction. And while a little abrupt in parts due to a lack of proper setup, Nana did end up shining in these episodes. She showed the right amount of empathy towards a villain, which made his exit from the show feel earned. I will say, this episode was the weaker of these two episodes just for the amount of plot convenience that allowed these two to meet. However, that doesn't bother me too much, especially when we finally got something Zakkuri and I have been waiting for: new villains. Jogi got a decent debut, as we did get to clearly see how he'll go about making monsters of the week, which is interestingly enough the exact opposite of what we've seen in the show so far, which could also lead to some more meaningful battles with the Cures as they try to consult their victims. Sure, next week it does look like he'll be in action, and instead it'll be Chokine, but after all the crap she pulled, I think she should do at least one more job. And if anything, it does seem like he has closer ties to Darkine, so hopefully we'll get to understand the big bad of the show a little more as he becomes a little more integrated in the show. I do like where things seem to be going, and overall, this was a good conclusion to both this mini arc for Nana and Zakkuri's arc for the show. Hopefully, things will start to shine like those sunflowers, whilst, ironically enough, focusing on the new baddies like Jogi. At the very least, he's already done way more than Chokine in just this one episode.
Thank you for watching, and if you want to just take a minute to stop and smell the flowers, well, our videos kind of smell like them.
We've got something new coming out almost every day, and some new big projects in the works.
Look forward to Procession Orchestra tomorrow, which coincidentally is also going to have some developments for their villains. But anyway, look forward to it. Until then though, for now my friends, and if you'll excuse me, I think I'm just going to take a quick minute to smell the flowers myself. Doesn't smell all that good actually.